It was a quiet Tuesday morning at the grocery store. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead. Soft instrumental music played through the speakers. And the smell of freshly baked bread from the bakery aisle carried gently through the air. For most people, it was just another normal day. But for Walter, this morning would become unforgettable. He stood at register 6, as he always did. Same spot. Same gentle smile. His hands, though slower now with age, were steady. Kind. Careful. Walter had been working at that store for over 14 years. Rain or shine, weekday or weekend, he showed up. Never late. Never rude. Never once had a customer complaint filed against him. He wasn't just an employee. He was part of that place. That's why what happened next cut so deep. She came in wearing pearls, sunglasses on her head, and a handbag that cost more than Walter made in a week. Her cart was full. Premium cuts of meat. Imported cheeses. Every item meticulously stacked, like she expected someone to admire her choices. She looked at Walter. Then down at his hands. And paused. He greeted her gently. "Good morning, ma'am. Did you find everything okay today?" Silence. She didn't respond. Didn't smile. Didn't make eye contact. Then, loud enough for everyone in the next 2 lines to hear, she said. "I want someone else. I don't want him touching my stuff." The moment froze. Walter blinked. He thought maybe he'd misheard. But he hadn't. Customers turned. A young woman behind her gasped audibly. The next line over fell silent. "Excuse me?" Walter asked, calmly. "I said," she repeated, slower this time, "get me someone else." Still no eye contact. She spoke through him, not to him. "Before I tell you what happened next, and how a single camera caught the moment that changed everything, take a second to subscribe if you believe respect isn't optional, and dignity isn't negotiable. Because this story? It's not just about racism. It's about the moment people stop pretending, and show you who they really are." Walter felt the heat rise in his chest, not anger, but that slow, familiar burn of humiliation. It wasn't the first time someone had spoken down to him. But this was different. This was intentional. "Ma'am, I'm the only one on this register right now," he said softly. "If you'd like, I can call my supervisor, but—" "I don't care," she snapped. "I said I don't want you touching my groceries. Is that hard to understand?" Her voice grew sharper. Her words, poisonous. The store grew quieter. More eyes turned. A child nearby asked her mom, "Why is that lady yelling at him?" Walter did something simple. He stepped back. Took a breath. And didn't speak. Because sometimes, silence says everything. A manager finally arrived, Jason. Mid-30s, fast-talking, always in motion. He jogged over, scanning the scene. "What's going on?" Before Walter could respond, the woman took the stage again. "This man, this cashier, refused to get me someone else. I told him I didn't want his hands on my food and he just stood there." Jason blinked. "I'm sorry, you told him what?" The woman scoffed. "Are you really going to make me repeat myself?" Jason looked at Walter, then back at her. Did he raise his voice? Say anything rude? "No," she admitted. "But it's about principle." Jason's jaw tightened. "I see." But what the customer didn't know, was that Jason had already seen everything. You see, Register 6 had a camera, right above the display screen. Audio and video. Installed for security. But today, it was about to become something else. And before I tell you what Jason did with that footage, I need to ask you something personal. Have you ever been dismissed, not for what you did, but for who you are? Have you ever been talked down to by someone who saw your skin, your wrinkles, or your uniform, and decided you didn't deserve basic respect? You're not alone. And if that moment still lingers in your chest, there's something I need you to see. It's called the 369 Manifestation Code, a 3-digit energetic frequency, rooted in Nikola Tesla's work, that helps people realign with their inner power, confidence, and purpose. Thousands are using it to attract respect, money, opportunities, and peace. Because sometimes, life won't hand you justice. You'll have to become it. Click the link in the first pinned comment and start the shift now. Back at the store, Jason quietly asked Walter to step aside, not to punish him, but to de-escalate the situation. Walter nodded. Said nothing. The woman crossed her arms, proud. Like she'd won. Jason walked behind the counter, pulled up the camera footage, hit play, and watched. He didn't blink. Didn't skip. He watched the entire exchange, from Walter's first greeting to the woman's final insult. Then, he hit print. 2 pages. Time-stamped. Audio transcripts included. He walked back to her, paper in hand. "Ma'am," he said, voice cool but direct. "Thank you for your patience. I just reviewed the footage." Her smug smile faltered. Jason continued. "And based on what I've seen, I can confirm Walter remained calm, professional, and respectful at all times." He paused. "But you, on the other hand." Jason didn't raise his voice. He didn't call security. He didn't cause a scene. But his next words cut deeper than shouting ever could. "You, on the other hand, were aggressive, insulting, and refused service from an employee based purely on his appearance." The woman's face twitched. Her pride cracked just slightly. "I was uncomfortable," she snapped. "That's not a crime." Jason held up the printout, the transcript of her own words, pulled directly from the security footage. "According to our store policy," he said, "discrimination of any kind toward staff is not tolerated." He folded the papers calmly and placed them on the counter. "So you have 2 options. You can apologize to Walter, or I can ask you to leave and ban you from this location permanently." Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. No apology came out. Instead, she reached for her wallet. "Just get someone else to ring me up." Jason shook his head. "No. No? No one else is going to ring you up. Not today. Not ever. You're no longer welcome here." Gasps echoed from the nearby checkout lanes. A teenager filming on his phone whispered, "Holy SH," before cutting himself off. The woman's face turned red. "You're firing a paying customer?" Jason didn't flinch. "I'm protecting my employee." And then, without another word, she turned and stormed out, her cart abandoned. Premium groceries, unpaid. Her pearls bouncing with every step. Walter, who had quietly stood by the coin machine, didn't say a word. Jason walked over and looked him in the eye. "You good?" he asked gently. Walter nodded once, then slowly returned to his register. A few people clapped softly. One customer in the next lane gave him a thumbs up. The young woman behind the angry customer stepped forward with her items and said, "You handled that with so much grace. I'm sorry you had to." Walter gave her a small smile. Tired. Grateful. But here's what makes this story more than just a viral clip. Later that week, the store released the footage online, with Walter's permission. No names. No location. Just the exchange, the manager's response, and one sentence at the end. "Dignity deserves protection. Always." It spread fast. Within 48 hours, the video had over 6 million views. Comments flooded in: "Support, outrage, stories from people who had experienced the same. Hashtag We See Walter started trending. People didn't just watch, they connected. Because everyone has been Walter at some point. Everyone has felt small in a space where they were trying to do everything right, and were still made to feel like they didn't belong. And everyone wants someone like Jason to stand up, calmly, firmly, publicly, and say, "This isn't okay. And it won't continue." The store honored Walter with a Service and Dignity Award. Corporate promoted Jason to regional leadership. And customers began choosing that store because of how it handled that moment. It became more than groceries. It became a place where people mattered. And for Walter, something changed that week. He didn't stop being quiet. Didn't demand attention. But every customer who passed through lane 6 now looked him in the eye. Said his name. Shook his hand. Because the man they almost ignored had become a symbol of everything good we still hope for in the world. And now I want to leave you with this. If you've ever been made to feel like Walter, overlooked, dismissed, disrespected, you don't have to fight louder. You don't have to be aggressive. But you do have to know who you are. Because when you walk in dignity, the right people will rise to meet you. And the wrong ones will reveal themselves every time. And if you're ready to stop shrinking into the background, if you're ready to align with the respect, the success, and the peace you know you deserve, there's a tool I want you to try. It's called the 369 Manifestation Code. A simple, powerful 3-digit sequence based on Tesla's frequency theory that's helping thousands of people reset their energy and attract real, measurable results, from confidence to income, relationships to clarity. You'll find the link in the first pinned comment. Click it when you're ready to take back control. Because your worth was never up for debate. It just needed a moment to be seen. Now tell me. Have you ever been in Walter's shoes? Drop your story in the comments. We're listening. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to remember. They don't need to shout to be powerful. Sometimes, silence is louder than anything else.